Welcome to Season 4 of the Predator Podcast. Presented by Dark Knight Outdoors, our first choice for quality thermal optics. If you're a predator hunter or wanting to become one, you're in the right place. Here's your host of the Predator Podcast, Drew Schlimm.
What is up, guys? I am doing a little bit of a different episode today. This is going to be a solo episode with just me. I had intentions of having a guest on, but I put up a post and put on some things to see if I had any questions that you guys wanted answered, and I got a bunch of questions. So I just figured it might be easier just for me to go through all these questions that you guys have, and we can just kind of knock these out. A lot of really good questions. Had some repeat questions, some of the same questions. So, obviously stuff that guys are wanting to know. So I am going to go through all this. I just got back from Kansas, yesterday, and I am sitting down recording this podcast that's going to come out Tuesday night to Wednesday morning. And Kansas was unreal as always. I have such a great time down there. Whether we kill a whole bunch or not, it is so fun to get to go on a trip with my buddies for a few days. That is what makes it such a great trip for me, is just getting away. It's fun to just grind for a few days. Like I said, regardless of whether it's great hunting or it's slow, it's fun to be able to grind for a few days. We all have, young families, busy lives. It's just tough for us to get out a whole lot together, especially. We all like to go as much as possible, but for all of us to get together and go at the same time is sometimes difficult with all of our busy schedules. So just getting to go down there with my buddies and grind is what makes the trip so fun for me. And we got good weather. We had pretty much great weather the whole trip. We took 1-2 hour break just because there was super, super high winds. And then we got out as soon as the wind started to lay down, and we started hammering them. So it was a blast. I'm not going to lie to you guys. I made more mistakes and had a few misses that I would say I would like to think are uncharacteristic, but these things happen, and it wasn't going to ruin my trip or make me upset. I just, deal with it and move on and try to learn from it. I'll share with you guys one thing that I learned and discovered. I know this is going to sound very basic and like a rookie, but I had a few mishaps with not taking my safety off. I know guys are going to say, how does that happen? Well, here's what my process is when I see a dog coming into the call. My first thing that I do is turn record on my scope, and then I start to focus to try to get the most clear video and get the video, and then to make sure it's clear. A lot of times things, as most of you guys know, as predator hunters, sometimes things happen fast. They come in hard. You suddenly realize I need to shoot now. They're leaving, whatever. I had a few of those occurrences where I forgot to take my safety off because my first priority was getting a video. But I was able to identify that, and I started making sure that I took my safety off. Yes, I know that sounds basic, but just calling it and being honest with you guys, that is what happened. And I'm not afraid to admit that I make mistakes, and hopefully all of us still make some mistakes. If not, if you don't, I would like to please message me so we can get you on the podcast and hear from you. So, anyways, Kansas trip was great. Shout out to my buddies. It was a blast and love the state of Kansas. We did struggle a lot more in the daylight than we have in years past, which I think, you know, Kansas's night seasons are getting more and more. I am guessing that daylight hunting is gonna start to take a little effect on that until it gets to the point where we're at in Wisconsin where nobody day hunts. So, yeah, just I think there's more pressure. We saw hunters, we saw, things that we hadn't seen the previous, 7 times that I've been there. I've never seen a hunter or anything of that nature. So, it's certainly changing and not necessarily a bad thing. It's just something that to adapt and change and adjust what you do. So it was a bright, bright, bright moon while we were there. I'm talking you're casting a shadow from yourself. It was borderline. You needed sunscreen at night from how bright that moon was. So that was a bit of a we had to certainly adjust to that a little bit. Um, but for the most part, it it was uh, it was still really good. We had some of the hardest call-ins that I would I've ever experienced. So, anyways, we will get to the Q&A. Okay. First of all, thank you everybody who sent me a question. I appreciate it. I like to hear from you guys. I like it when people message me, tell me how you're doing, ask me questions, tell me what's working, uh, so on and so forth. If you guys are not in my Facebook group, there's a lot of great interaction in there, a lot of great members in that group that are super knowledgeable, far more knowledgeable than me, that are very willing to answer questions as well. So, if you guys aren't in my Facebook group, please go in the description below and jump into our Facebook group. We definitely, I think, have a good group of people over there, and I'd love to have more good people in it. Okay. How long after you call a spot that is a blank stand, when will you go back and call it? So I'm assuming when you say a blank stand, I would assume that means you saw nothing, heard nothing. Uh, when will I go back? I would go back whenever I felt like it. Whether it was later that night, whether it was 2 days later, I would put no timeline on it. If I had a completely blank stand, never heard, never saw, nothing. If the wind was right, I will add that. If I call a spot and I get there, the wind is blowing right down into where I think the dogs are, and I don't see nothing, I'm gonna give that one a little rest just because I think there's a chance something smelled me. Uh, so assuming the wind is right, I will go back whenever I feel the time is right. So yeah, I just think sometimes they're just not there. Um, and I think it might not hurt anything to go back. I know guys that have gone back to spots a few hours later and had luck. So, if you call in a pair and you kill the pair that you called in, how long till you go back and call it again? Um, if I called in two dogs, killed both of them, and they were the only ones I heard and saw, I would go back maybe a week later, maybe a few days later. Um, I would say I'd give it at least a little break, but um, if you don't think if the wind was right, you didn't see anything else, you didn't hear anything else, um, I think that you could possibly go back there as soon as you felt like it. I killed dogs in Kansas. I killed a dog in a spot on Friday morning that I had a hard charging pair come in. We killed one. We should have killed them both, but we only killed one. We went back there Saturday night, and there was a dog that was smelling around the ground where I killed the one the the day prior, and I killed that one. So I don't know. I certainly think that you can, you know, again, the I know I keep saying it, but if the wind is right, you're able to get in there, clean out, clean stuff like that. I think goes a long ways. I think you can go back, you know, soon. I'd give it a week if it was me. If you're asking me, I would give it a week. If I called in, you know, a dog and killed it, or two dogs and killed them, whatever dog I felt like was there and knew I was there that I killed it, I would go back probably about a week. Okay, best call sequences for this time of year. All right, so we're talking second week of January going into the middle of January here. I would say my strategy right now is going to be lone howls, uh lone female howls. Um I'm gonna play probably in here in Wisconsin, where I'm located. I'm probably gonna shelf the prey distress sounds. Unless I walk into a spot and see a dog out in front of me, or I walk in on a dog, I will then turn on a distress sound of some kind. Otherwise, I'm going vocal heavy. I'm going lone howls, pair howls, fights, breed fights. Um, if you're looking for some sounds, what I've been playing lately, just the past few days, come here, lonely howl. Um, Sister pair, that's a good one. You're gonna start getting into your Humpty Bumpty, girl fight, hooked pair, cornered hottie. All those sounds are been working pretty good for me. Pound Town's always a staple. Pup Distress 3. Those are always great stand enders. I was I would say that's a bulk of what I've been playing. I'm trying to think what else. Your your Coyote Yip pair. I like that one. Female Submission. That's a Fox Pro sound that's really good too. Those are all good sounds. Female Submission is one of my favorite sounds that, especially for this time of year, if I get a response from a group or of um a group of coyotes or a pair of coyotes, whatever, if I get a response from multiple coyotes playing, answering them back with female submission, has been very productive for me. I think it's often overlooked. It's a I don't want to say old, but it's a tested and proven Fox Pro sound from over the years that I have had a ton of success with since, I mean, I remember 10 years ago using that sound and calling in dogs with it. So I would definitely maybe try to pull that one out of your list. If you don't use it, I would use that one here coming up. So if you're asking me for my actual sequence, I would play a lone howl, a pair howl, and then I would play a lone howl, probably give it a couple minutes, then I would play a pair howl. Uh, Assuming you get no response, then I would play a pair howl. Assuming you get no response. If I get an aggressive response, I'm gonna answer it back with Rue Worked Up. That's one of my favorites from I believe that's an MFK sound, is MFK Rue Worked Up. That's one of my favorites to if I can tell, like, hey, that coyote's mad, like you can tell there's some attitude there. Um I'll hit him with that occasionally, and that works well. And then I'm just gonna be patient, wait, 5, 10 minutes even, and then start rolling into girl fight. I like girl fight. Or if I want to go for more of the breeding type sound, I might go with cornered hottie. Uh, what else am I looking at? Humpty Bumpty would be maybe next. And then I would finish it with maybe Pound Town or Pup Distress 3. One of those are kind of, staples. But yeah, I don't think I would just be a little bit more patient around your vocals. Don't rifle through your sounds, especially if you're in the Midwest, you're in the upper Midwest. The our dogs come in slower. Just honest here that when I'm in Kansas, I get to the 8 minute mark. I'm starting to think, man, probably ain't happening here. If I get it to 8 minute mark at home here, I'm not even thinking about getting on my gun hardly yet. So, yeah, I would just be patient. It's not quite they're pretty aggressive right now as far as territorial over their breeding areas. So if you can get a dominant pair, you know where a pair of coyotes are. If you can get in on them, they're appears to me like they're coming in and defending their territory pretty good. It's not like they're per se stuck breeding right now and staying in a 10-foot circle, but they're kind of in defend mode where they have set up kind of a territory and they are more willing to defend it, in my opinion. And again, it's not the same. I know some people are going to say different things. Everybody has an opinion. This is just mine. So, bright moon strategy. I have dogs coming in, but they hang up. How to combat the bright moon. All right. I did get several questions about the bright moon. I got a bunch of questions about the bright moon because we just had and slash have a bright moon right now. So I understand that this question is just kind of a maybe a right now thing because everyone's dealing with it. But yeah, we most certainly dealt with a super bright moon when we were in Kansas. And I think everybody's situation is going to be different in how they can or will or can potentially try to combat the bright moon. But what we did was tried to find low ground, low stands down near creeks, whatever you call them, river. I don't know. Everyone has a different explanation for what moving water is, but we would try to get into low ground and just because that's where cover was, and we that's what we did. Every stand we went to after a certain point, pretty much every stand we tried to have cover. We stood against trees, we stood against brush, we stood against tall grass, down tree, whatever it may be. We tried to find cover, and it made a light years difference. Um, Another thing I think is often overlooked is guys wearing camo or some sort of clothing that will help you hide, whether it's brown, whether it's whatever. I see so many guys rocking blue jeans and a red sweatshirt with white writing on it. My opinion, that stuff makes you stick out far worse than if you were wearing, camo or, browns, dark colors, whatever, acting like you're trying to hide. I think that makes a difference. It may be a small difference. Maybe it's that dog comes 50 yards closer before he sees you, but maybe that got him from 225 to 175. And for me, I like that 175 a lot better. But um, little things like that I think can make a difference. I know everybody has their opinion again on the full moon. And I've stated it several times. I do not think hunting in a full moon is a deal breaker. I do not think it's impossible to call dogs in um on a full moon. However, I do think that they do rely on their vision a lot more because they can, and they will at times hang up farther out because they don't see what they're hearing. So I know some people will break out a decoy when it's a full moon, and that tends to work better in a full moon. Um, I guess for me, I try to hide the call. I try to keep the call a little bit hidden more to a point where they may not, maybe it's just over a rise or a bush, it's behind a bush, it's behind a tree, it's behind in a low spot where they have a harder time seeing the sound source. That's all I'm thinking is trying to be a little bit creative. When I'm looking at setups, I'm looking for cover to set up near. And then I'm going to try to get the call a little bit hidden. I'm going to get a little bit closer maybe to cover, not standing 1,000 yards from a woods and expecting them just to burn across this entire field to come right to me. I just think that's tough. Um, I think that it can and does change everywhere you're at. If you can stand in shadows, that's even better. If you can stand in the shadows from the trees, that's a super good tip too to hide. Yeah, I don't know. I think I believe that dogs hang up farther and stay out farther in a bright moon, especially if you have snow. If you're in the upper Midwest and you have snow, that moon that moon and snow combo can be difficult, especially if you're in open country. It's even more difficult, in my opinion. Um, so I believe that just being creative, hide, camo, um, you know, and I think just be prepared that they're gonna hang up a little bit farther out and be ready to take them out if you can. I know one night in Kansas, I believe we killed one at like 130 that I was really down in a hole. I couldn't see a whole lot. Dog came in above me, sat down and looked. He was only 130 yards, but that's all I could see. And I was able to get him. Then after that, I believe the closest one we shot was maybe in the 250 yards range. They just tended to hang up a little bit farther out. Again, just not seeing what they're looking for. Um, and I think too, I'm hunting with four people, me and my three friends. So, I do think it's a little harder to hide four people than it would be to hide one or two. But you know, that's just what we do, and it's how it works for us. So I think it can change. I would just make sure that you're being a little bit more patient too in the full moon. I know it's easy to say, okay, he's at 300 yards, he's stopped. I better shoot. He's hanging up. And yeah, I know occasionally they will, but I wouldn't be afraid to switch up sounds and try to keep working them in. And if they turn to leave, maybe now's your time to stop them and try to get them killed. But I don't think it's a bad option to keep switching up sounds to try to get them to come in a little closer. Ugh, excuse me. Um. Okay, well, I guess that's probably enough about the full moon. I know everybody is asking about the full moon all the time, and I see people saying I don't even hunt the full moon. I don't can't kill them on a full moon, etc. Um, yeah, I don't see a difference. I'm not gonna say how many coyotes we killed the last 4 days in a bright moon, but it was plenty. and we screwed up plenty also. All right. This is a good one. Heath Johnson would like to know what my secret sound is. So I know he was completely joking when he asked me this and said this, but I have a sound that is not a secret at all that I have just been having coyotes run the call over. And it is none other than Mrs. McCottontail from Fox Pro. I don't know what it is. I don't know why. I'll have to post a video sometime. I have coyotes just burning over the call coming in to Mrs. McCottontail. And I don't know how many I called in this weekend or this week with Mrs. McCottontail, but it was a pile. And um yeah, so I know that's earth-shattering news and everybody probably doesn't want to hear that, but so Heath, it's Mrs. McCottontail for me right now. That's my secret sound. Okay. How to hunt around pressure, the conditions with weather phases, and what to look for in weather to hunt. What aspect of weather catches your eye in planning a hunt, good or bad? East wind is my nightmare. Okay. Um, how to hunt around pressure. So I hope that the question is pressure as in hunting pressure. If it's weather pressure, I don't ever pay attention to the weather pressure. So I don't know if that has any effect either way of any kind on predators, but uh how to hunt around pressure is to be different. That is what I always strive to do is be different than people I know that may hunt the area or if it's public land, if it's whatever it is, it's always being trying to be different. And sometimes less is more. Playing less sounds, being more patient, sitting longer, really being patient and watching your downwind, making sure you hunt it in a way that you give the coyotes some kind of a advantage, whether they, it's a crosswind where they can just wrap cover and pop out and they're going to be nearly downwind of the call by the time they come out. I think that can help when they feel safe. Um, yeah, and using, like I said, using different sounds, using less sounds, using bird noises and uh, rodent noises instead of rabbit distresses and stuff like that, I think can help. Playing lone howls and then just sitting quiet and waiting, and then sitting for, when you get, let's say you play, your howls, your fights, your everything you play, then I would just sit there for a little bit when you're done and watch the downwind. Maybe it's 10, 15 minutes. I've seen, in pressured areas, all of a sudden you watch that downwind, all of a sudden here comes the dog sneak into that downwind to kind of check things out after they think, this is all done with, or maybe whoever has hunted there previously, they play the last sound, hit mute, they run, grab the call, and they're gone. Um, that's probably what I would do for the most part. I would also, like I said, be different, hunt at different times. If there's night hunters that are pressuring areas, then day hunt it. If you have people that, go and hunt this time or this stretch of year or this time of day, again, go at a different time, go at a different time of year, go at 2 o'clock in the morning, go at 5 o'clock in the morning. Um, whatever your schedule allows. Go at 5 o'clock on a Sunday morning. Go at uh 5 o'clock on a Monday morning. I don't know. Just whatever. I know everybody's schedule is different, but if there's a way you can be different, if there's a way you can be there when other people aren't, uh, that's when I think the best time is. If I hunted public land a lot, I would probably, especially if I day hunted, I'd probably hunt public land from about Tuesday to Thursday, and then I wouldn't hunt it after that. Just because the weekends bring pressure. And it might not necessarily even be calling pressure. It might be, squirrel hunters, deer hunters, rabbit hunters, who knows? But it's all pressure. Um, how do I hunt around? Okay, weather, the conditions and weather phases. Okay. So I'm gonna kind of actually answer this all because the next part of the question was, what do you look for in weather to hunt, and what aspect of weather catches your eye when planning a hunt, good or bad? Okay, I'll answer this all kind of at once. Also, he says east wind is my nightmare. Okay, I don't. Me personally, I don't believe an east wind affects anything other than I love an east wind because I have a lot of good east wind spots. Um, the only thing is if you're hunting an east wind after a front, I can see where that would affect it. If you have an east wind that you can hunt the front end of a front, I would hunt that. Like if you have an east wind and it's going to snow tonight or tomorrow or rain or whatever, I would hunt the front end of it if you can. I think you'll have better success than the back end of it. Just my experience in the Midwest again. If I was hunting in the West or Southwest, I my experience is that the snow and rain don't quite affect the coyotes like they tend to up here. So, um, so if I'm looking to plan a hunt, what am I looking for? I'm looking for stability, steady temperatures, no rain, no snow, no super high winds, basically. Those are the three things that I would prefer to not have at any point. A little rain, little snow is fine. We're all gonna get some high winds. Like I said, we got some super high winds in Kansas for probably about 5 to 6 hours. We battled in it for a little while. Then we had a couple of blank stands, and it was blowing probably 40 miles an hour. And we said, all right, we're gonna go take a break. And looks like it's gonna die down around 3. We're gonna take a break, go get some sleep. Slept for 2 hours, went back out at 3, killed 8 dogs between 3 and 7 a.m. So yeah, that was a great move. I felt like um I I try to avoid that super windy. Not because you can't call in dogs, not because they're not out. I believe that they are out, and I believe you can call them in still. Um, I missed one at 180 yards because it was blowing 40 miles an hour. He was sitting down. I'm shooting at a 6 inch wide target, and the wind was blowing so hard that it was blowing. I was not steady, and I missed. So that's the part I don't like about hunting high winds, and also it's not fun to stand there and get hit in the face by a 40-mile-an-hour wind. So I don't like those parts of it. But yeah, if I'm looking for weather to hunt, I'm looking for stability. If there's changes in the weather, I'm hunting the front end of the change. Uh, Especially if you're in the Midwest, you're gonna have better luck on the front end of change, in my opinion, than after. I think it takes 24 to 48 hours after a snow, after a cold front, after big weather changes. It definitely, in my opinion, takes 24 to 48 hours after that front has pushed through for the hunting to kind of turn to more positive in my experience. Yes, you can still have success at any time. I'm not saying you can't. But if you're asking me what I'm going to plan around and how I'm going to plan to hunt, I'm going to hunt that stretch where if there's going to be a rain or a snow or a big cold front somewhere, I'm going to wait uh, probably 48 hours after that front. I'm going to wait for that to kind of baseline and stabilize. And then I think at that point, it's going to get good again. I like to hunt on warm ups too, I guess. So I guess if it's 15 degrees today and it's going to be 25 tomorrow, I like that. Um, I like a little bit of a warm up. I think those are helpful. And the dogs just seem to be active when they get a little bit of a warm up. Kind of, they're a little bit fair weather like we are. I know a lot of people will think, "Oh my gosh, it's going to drop 25 degrees tomorrow. The dogs are going to be hungry." Well, they might be, but my experience is going to be it's going to be 2 days or 24 to 48 hours after that temperature drop. I think, yeah, then it's going to be good. But again, if I have to, or if I have the choice, I'm going to hunt the front end of the hunt. Bad weather. How would I decide if I'm not going to go? If there's wind blowing over 30 miles an hour, I'm gonna certainly probably not go. If it's gonna rain or if it's gonna snow more than, you know, probably a half an inch, if it's gonna snow more than that. Not as much because I don't want to or because you couldn't kill in it. It's just not fun to be out there. It's not good for your equipment, or, I don't really want to get my thermal scope all full of water and snow. So I just would prefer not to hunt in the rain or the snow. But I do really like the front end of a snow. Like if you get a little, spit of snow coming in, I do think that can be really wicked good calling. Um, yeah, so I guess you know, in in summary here, I'm looking for stability in weather. I'm looking for steady temperatures. I think those often yield high success. Um, yeah, I don't plan around the moon either. Like when we have our Kansas trip every year, somebody said to me, "Oh, dude, there's a full moon that week. You're going." I'm like, "Yeah, and yeah, like that. That has no effect on my hunt." So, will I factor it into how I hunt? Yes, but does it make me not hunt or think I'm going to be less successful? No. And then yeah, east wind. I don't know. I think that a lot of times an east wind comes with a front, so I can see why after a front has moved in, an east wind maybe is slower for you. But again, I would look at that front end if it's possible. Um, but if there's just a random east wind with no front or change around it, I'm excited about it. Okay, favorite 243 bullet and why? Okay, my favorite 243 bullet is currently the 80 grain ELD VT. I know that the ELD VTs are a little bit of a hot and cold item right now out there. I hear a lot of people that say they hate them. I hear a lot of people that say they love them. Doesn't seem like there's a lot of in between with those. And I think it just all is going to be based on your own experience and what your preferences are. Um, but for me, I like that bullet. I'm shooting it at 3,300 feet a second out of my 243, the 80 grain ELD VT. I'm hand loading that. Obviously, it doesn't come in a factory offering. Uh, that's my favorite current setup. I have a 1 and 8 twist, if that matters to anyone, but I have really enjoyed that bullet. It is not fur friendly, if that's what you're after. I like Coyote Dead, and it does that for me. So that's something that I enjoy. It certainly hits them hard. I'll try to. get some videos put up and stuff of some of these dogs I shot in Kansas, but it's it's pretty violent, but that's my current favorite bullet right now. Again, I know a lot of people are hot and cold. It seems like people are either hot and cold on the ELDVT. So I think it just totally depends on your experience. Um, my opinion is if you shoot them shoulders and forward, nothing, I mean, all of them are pretty much good. The only thing I've had happen is if I hit dogs back, my bullet tends to pass through and they tend to run. So obviously, I certainly try to avoid that. Um, had it happen on a longer shot where I was, in the wind and one that I just rushed. But other than that, everything I shoot with it just pretty much rocks them. And I know they're supposed to be a little bit more explosive than the VMAX, but um, they are explosive. But when I hit, when I don't hit them in the, when I've hit a couple dogs in the midsection, it's just passed through them and not done much for damage. So, again, that's just my experience and just being transparent about how the bullet works for me. But I love it. Shoots really good. It's fast. It's flat, and it hits hard. And then the other part of the question was my favorite 224 diameter bullets. So he's asking about a 22 caliber bullet and why. Okay, since there is so many out there, my favorite that I shoot in my 22 250 is a 50 grain VMAX. If I was to shoot, almost anything else, if I shot 223, if I shot 22 Nosler, if I shot something along those lines, I would shoot the 53 grain VMAX. Um, I enjoyed that in both of the 223 and the 22 Nosler. Um, I like the 53 grain VMAX a lot in a lot of different calibers. I know people shoot it out of a 22 Creed at crazy speeds and like it. Uh, I I like the 60 grain VMAX offering from Make Ready Munitions. That's a wicked round too. I shot those and they are hammers. The 53s are really good too if you want some super velocity, especially if you shoot 223. I would look at the Make Ready Munitions offerings. They're just faster, simply. I mean, than a standard round and speed kills in predator hunting. So, I like those. If I shot a 22 Creed, I would probably shoot the 62 grain ELDVT. I know there's been a lot of different experiences with people in the 22 Creed and the 62 grain ELDVT. My experience, people I hunt with, I've seen it do very well. I've seen probably anywhere from, oh, I don't know, probably 40 critters shot with a ELDVT in the 62 grain and been very impressed with it. Um, yeah, I don't know. Other than that, I'm not sure what I would shoot. But I know everybody is going to have an opinion, and what I would encourage you to do is just try them. Try different ones. If you don't like it, try switch it. If you are having trouble with runners, if you're missing, if your groups are big, whatever it may be, try something different. Try something until it works. Try something until you find what you like. Because what I like may not be what you like, and that's okay. So, yeah. So I would say my favorite 224 bullets is going to be a VMAX. But if I had to pick one, and if I had to pick one for everything, I would pick the 53 grain VMAX. Just a pretty versatile. It's a boat tail bullet. So yeah, I like that. Um, it's got good BC. It's just a 53 grain VMAX is just a very good bullet. So, yeah, if I had to pick one, that's what it is. But I shoot the 50 in my 22-50. What is my current gun slash bullet setups? Okay, I just said my bullet setups. My 243, I shoot the 80 grain ELD VT. My 22-50, I shoot the 50 grain VMAX. In my 223, I shoot a 60 grain VMAX from Make Ready Munitions. That was the one that shot the best for me. Okay. My 243 is a Ruger American Gen 2 that I took the stock off and put in a outlier chassis. Um, like that a lot. I adjusted the trigger to be as light as it possibly could be. I smoothed up the bolt. Um, and I love that gun. I have the Predator version, so it's a 22-inch barrel. I have a silencer central Banish 30 on it. I like that. I did just get a Otter Creek Hydrogen L 6.5. I'm told this one is a super quiet can. So I got one, and whenever it gets out of jail, I'll have that. Um, so anything else in that gun? Okay, I'm still shooting the iRay Bolt TX60C. Like that a lot. Don't really have any complaints. It's a great scope. The only thing that I changed in the last few weeks is I put new scope rings on my Bolt TX60C. I had an issue last end of last year with my rings coming loose, the factory rings that came on my scope. So I just wanted to, I did tighten them well, and they worked fine after that, but I that was in the back of my head this whole time. I was thinking, oh, I'm gonna go to Kansas, my rings are gonna come loose, whatever. I just didn't want to deal with it, so I got rid of them and got some new rings. I got EGW rings, if it matters to anyone. And that gun shoots really good. Love it. And like I said, shooting a 80 grain ELDVT at 3,300 feet a second out of the 243. My day. Oh, also my tripod. I used a Big Dog tripod from Dark Knight Outdoors. My whole crew uses the Big Dog tripod. Um, my Kansas buddy was using one. My dad uses one. We all use the same tripod. Very, very, very quality unit. No complaints, honestly. It's a great tripod. So yeah. The Dark Knight Outdoors Big Dog tripod. Very high quality. Like it a lot. Lifetime warranty. Yeah. It's a high-end tripod in my opinion. That's a little cheaper than most of the high-end tripods. So, my day rig is a Thompson Center Venture. For those of you who wanna laugh at me about that, the reason why I shoot the Thompson Center Venture is because when I was a kid watching predator hunting shows, Les Johnson with Predator Quest was the guy that I just idolized and watched, and he was shooting a Thompson Center Venture, and when I was about 15 years old, I went and got that Thompson Center Venture, and for some reason, that gun is shot so good. I've shot so many dogs with it, and it's just kind of comfortable. Um, and I still just enjoy shooting that gun. So, anyways, TC Venture 22-250. I have a Swagger bipod on it. I do like the Swagger bipod for day hunting just because typically my shots are closer, like inside 200 yards, even, inside 150. Except for I say that, but I shot one in Kansas at 400, so whatever. But it doesn't always go as planned, right? And um, yeah, I just think the Swagger bipod, it's super easy to adjust quickly. Things just tend to happen fast in the daylight, and especially when you're kind of up in cover and whatnot. I just believe that being able to adjust really quick on target, get them killed. Um, yeah, I have a Vortex Viper 4 to 16. I think it's a Vortex Viper HSLR. So it's got top dial. Um, Anything else on that? No, I don't think so. Oh yeah, my can on that. I have a Lane Scorpion 556. That's I like that one a lot too, actually. Very, very good can. It's a 556. It's a 6 millimeter can, so I can shoot 243 out of it if I want. But it's like a 6 inch can, I think, or 6.5 inches maybe. It's short, it's smaller. It does a very nice job suppressing. My opinion with suppressors is I like quiet suppressors because that is what helps me the most when I'm hunting is the actual suppressor being quiet. So when I'm after a suppressor, I'm typically after the quietest or a very quiet option for the money. So if you are trying to buy a suppressor, especially now that there's no more tax stamps, I would do your research, um, and figure out what is going to be the best, quietest option. I know there's a lot of factors, light, quiet, length. Everybody likes something different, but do your research, see if you can figure out. I've heard some bad ones. I'll just be honest with you. I've heard some bad ones, and then when I hear that people paid more than what I paid for a lane, or what you can get a DDC for, or whatever it is, there's a lot of very, very, very good cans out there for reasonable prices. So yeah, I've heard a lot of good ones, but I've also heard some bad ones. So I would be cautious. And I encourage you guys to do your own research on this stuff because sometimes, I mean, depending on where you're going to try to buy one, you you know, you yeah, I think sometimes people tend to sell what makes money and what they have on the shelf. And I heard one can that I cannot believe someone sold someone. And I, stuff like that, I can't understand how someone can push that to someone, but with any knowledge of what that product is. But that's why I encourage you to do your own research. What I do is I ask people that know more than me. Um, so when I want to buy a gun, a can, switch bullets, I want to do something. I'm going to talk to people that I believe are much smarter and much not more knowledgeable, have shot more, all these things than me. I want to hear from people that are reputable and know much more and have much greater experience than me. And then I'm gonna go make my own decision based on what I know. So I would do that. Uh, yeah, I think that's all for my gun setups. Yeah. Okay, this one. Oh, sorry. Just coming off the 4 day Kansas grind. I'm tired. I haven't caught up on sleep yet, so I apologize for the yawns. Anyways, this is a good one. I got a chuckle and I had to actually really think about this. Okay, someone asked me, why don't you have a gun sponsor or a suppressor sponsor? Every other predator hunting channel does. Okay, I started thinking about this. Now, I think you might be right here. Most of them do. Um, why don't I? Well, I don't even know where I would start with a gun sponsor. I don't know. I don't have any connections with anybody that I can think of anyway that is a gun builder, is a gun manufacturer. That yeah, I don't know on that one. I don't even know where I would start. I'm not gonna just start sending out messages and emails to random people and say, "Hey, sponsor me." I don't Not a big fan of the word sponsor. I like partners, not sponsors. So, um, that's where I'm at on that. Um, Suppressor sponsor. Okay, suppressor sponsor. How do I answer this? Okay, I've turned down some deals with suppressor companies. And I've reached out to some suppressor companies. I've had potential deals on the table with suppressor companies, and nothing's ever came up to a serious decision. Just never has worked out one way or another. I'm open to having both of those, but I would need to have again, I'm looking for a partner. I'm looking for a relationship, someone that I can work closely with, that I can talk to, that I can um bounce ideas off of, that can bounce ideas off, that can come on my podcast and talk to people, and is just a good person. I've just had some people that I got bad vibes from that I decided against working with. And at this point in time, I believe all of them were great decisions. I feel very solid in the people that I work with and the decisions I've made to not work with people. So, um, I guess that's my thought. But yes, I would be open to if there's a gun partner out there or a suppressor partner out there that came up and they fit what I'm looking for. Yes, I would be open to it. I just yeah, sorry to let you down there. I know a lot of predator hunting channels have those. Yeah, I guess I haven't made it that far yet, and we'll see. Maybe someday, but it's not necessarily on my high on my list of super things I need. So yeah, we'll see though. Maybe someday. I hope someday. I hope anybody that I have as a partner, I believe is a very good. They're very good people, and good products, and otherwise I won't work with them. So, that's just that. What do you have? Here's a good one too. What do you have your presets set as on your Fox Pro remote, and what do you use them for? All right, I got my TX1000 remote right here. Um, okay, my presets. Number one, Mrs. McCottontail. Number two, Pound Town. Number three, Male Coyote Long Howl 1. That's a Fox Pro sound. Number four is Coyote Pair Yip Howls. Okay, and what do I use these for? Okay, so here's how I view this. So those of you that have the Fox Pro remote, your one through four is your one, two, three, four on your side buttons. So I use them. Here's my vision and how I decide how I'm going to set my presets. Okay, so I have number one as Mrs. McCottontail because in my mind, what I'm going to use this is I'm walking into a stand. I set the call out, whatever, and all of a sudden, boom, there's a coyote. I need to get something on quick. Um, Maybe not super loud. I want to turn something on. I'm going to turn on Mrs. McCottontail. Yeah, that's my go-to for. That's why I have that. Two is Pound Town, so that's typically two is my top button because this is the easiest one for me to push when things hit the fan. When I shoot, um, I'm pushing two to get that sound on. I'm pressing that hot button to get that sound turned on, and it's on 32 volume is what that preset is. I want that to be loud. If there's a second dog, if there's more dogs, I want them to either check up, come in, whatever. I've seen it where we've killed one, hit that button, and others come flying in. I've seen it numerous times. I got a video. This one, so number three is male coyote long howl. One. That's a Fox Pro sound, and I use this to stop dogs. We shot a triple in Kansas where we dumped the first two right at the call. The third one takes off and is running up this hill, gets out there, 350 yards. I click that hot button. It's on volume. What volume is that? 30. I could even probably do that louder, but it's on 30. I click that, dog checks up, stops from that sound, and I dump it. That's the only reason I have that there. It's kind of an aggressive bark and howl. It's quicker. It's not a super long drawn out. It's bark bark howl. Like that's what I like is some volume and that to get a dog to stop. Yip howls is kind of the same thing. I have that there for that reason too. To if I need to try to stop them, or uh, yeah, I that's typically the only reason I have that there. Those are my four presets on my Fox Pro remote. I do use my preset folder to keep majority of the sounds I use a lot just because I don't like to scroll a whole bunch. And having all these sounds in different folders isn't always my favorite. I just get very excited when coyotes are coming in or when you start shooting or whatever happens. I typically like to keep it simple. I like to keep things in one place if I can, or mostly, and just to avoid kind of that confusion. And I do use the preset buttons on the side of my remote. I'm just starting to get pretty good at using them in the moment and when things get western. So that I think has been helpful. Um, yeah, I've got video that will show, all these things I'm talking about. We killed a quad, we killed a triple, all simply from kind of getting on the remote right after a shot, keeping dogs located or keeping dogs interested, and things like that. Yeah, that's how I use my presets. Do I play different sound sequences during the night and the day? Um, I would say yes. Um, do I have to? Um, no. I think you can play the similar sound sequences both. But what I do is typically during the daytime, I typically am going to be more prey distress heavy. Seems like during the daylight that they tend to come into the prey distress sounds far more likely when they do come in. And then I've seen them come into some fight sounds. Uh, I'm sure they've came into everything over the years, but as far as what I really expect dogs to come into during a daylight stand, it's going to be distress. I typically start with a woodpecker, so like I think it's Broke Pecker that I've been playing to start stands. Then I'll switch to a rabbit. So then I'll switch to like Mrs. McCottontail or KG Cottontail, something like that. And then I might roll into a lone howl and then some fights and then be done. Um, yeah, I think that's probably how I would attack the day. And then the night, like I said earlier, I'm playing lone howl, pair howl, uh, some fights, some different things. If you are close to cover, and you can't see, I don't think it's a bad idea to start with a little soft distress or some distress sounds to start. I will do that sometimes if I'm close to cover and I can't see a lot, or I think, okay, there might just be one right here close by. I might start with, um, a squeak sound or a coaxer or a light rabbit, and just see if there's something up there close for the first couple minutes of the stand, and then roll into your lone howls, pair howls, breed sounds, fight sounds, that type of thing. Um, yeah. Yeah, and you guys can always message me on Instagram. You can always ask in the Facebook group. Hey, what worked for you guys last night, or what worked for you guys this weekend, whatever. Guys are very responsive and helpful. There's guys in there that use every sound brand and type in out there. So if you're looking for specifics, I'm sure there's people that will help you. Um, Locating tips. Okay, actually got a few questions about locating tips. One was locating tips in North Dakota Badlands and public land struggles. Okay, I've never located coyotes in North Dakota Badlands, but if I was going to, and if I'm reading into this correctly, I don't know if you mean actually finding coyotes to hunt or if you're talking about locating them via vocals. Um, Either way, I think if I was trying to locate them, that's how I would locate them would be to howl them at, right before first light in the morning, to go hunt them during the day if that's what you're gonna do. Um, and Locating tips. Okay, what I like to do is try to get high on a hill, not super close to where I think the dogs are. I don't want to be close enough to where I might call them in. I try to stay a little bit a ways away to where I can hear, but I don't want them to pile into my truck when I play a howl because they're 200 yards away. Um, so I would put a little distance from where you're planning on going or where you're hoping to hear them. If you can hunt everywhere, then I would just find a central location and pick, and locate. I would have your Onyx open. I always am looking at my Onyx and then I look at, the direction that I hear them and I'm like, okay, where do I think they are? They're, in this drainage, they're in this creek bottom, they're in this patch of woods, whatever. I'm always gonna try to pick out where they're at and pin it. I think that helps a lot for setting up accurately, and making the right play is just having your Onyx open and checking it out that way, pinning it, making sure you set up properly. Yeah, and what I also would do is play, don't play your sounds that you play on stand. So like for me, I would play this preset number 4 that I have, which is Coyote Perry Powell. I'm not typically going to play that on a stand, unless it's to, try to pull to get something to stop or whatever it may be. But um, I like that for locating. I like sounds for for locating that have more of the yipping type sounds in it. I don't know why, if it's just because when I hear coyotes light up, typically I hear that. In my experience, I typically like to use that, or if I'm not 100% sure why I view that way, but that's kind of what I would do or what I do. Um, yeah, so if I was hunting the North Dakota Badlands and I wanted to know where there's coyotes, I would either uh, drive around at night with thermal and look for them if it's legal. I don't know the North Dakota laws, so I don't know for sure. Or I would howl, and find places where you can hunt and howl, and then see if you can pin them on Onyx. Set up, within if it's daylight, a few hundred yards. If it's night, maybe try to get within you know, 700 yards of it. Even that's close sometimes, but if you can get just over the hill from them or whatever to kind of close the distance, don't let them, don't blow them out going in, but kind of try to make a smart play on them. Yeah. The other part of that question was public land struggles. We struggled this year in Kansas more than we ever have on public land with daylight hunting. You obviously can't hunt daylight, or you can't hunt thermal at night in Kansas. So in on public land. So we day hunt a lot of public land in Kansas. This year we saw people hunting. I believe we saw guys. We actually hunted another spot too that we have now tried to hunt the last 2 years. Both times we've been there, the neighbor that is, just a couple hundred yards border, is driving around on his four-wheeler doing whatever. I honestly don't know if the guy sees us come in there and then decides he's going to go in there just to make sure we don't, shoot anything or, whatever. I don't know. But 0 for 2 on that spot, never going there again. Too much time wasted. It's a long walk and it sucks to get back there and have it ruined like that. So, um, yeah, public land struggles. It's tough. I mean, it can be tough, especially knowing that some stuff probably gets hammered. What I would try to do if I was what we try to do is try to get away, get back in places. Is you know, a lot of guys aren't walking very far. In my experience with calling, I know we saw some guys this week that were 50 yards off the road. So if there's a way you can go to the back, to the farthest part, um, get real tight to the cover if you can. I'm talking, potentially shotgunning. Sometimes that can be the best. I would have a spinner on my call, the X decoy, something of that nature. Uh, I just think, it's certainly tough if you gotta make stands. That's what it comes down to. You're gonna have to just pound stands out. You're gonna have flank ones, and you're gonna kill eventually, and it's gonna be super worth it. Um, yeah, I would just be conscious of the wind. Try to get maybe a little bit more off the beaten path than the next guy. If there's any way you can, gain access to get back in places farther away from people, farther away from hunting, anything of that nature, I think can help. Um, yeah, I don't know. A public land can just be tough, and I think just knowing it's going to be tough and trying to be different, use different sounds, use less sounds. I think all of those things can help and setting up smart with the wind. Yeah, I don't know. I think it's certainly a challenge, and I think, the sport of predator hunting is growing, which is a positive thing, but it is making things a little more difficult in my experience. That is my opinion, my experience. I know that isn't the same for everyone. But I am noticing more blank stands, especially in the daylight, but it's also catching up to the nighttime. It's not getting any easier. So get away from the beaten path, hunt at different times, use different sounds, use less sounds, sit longer, sit closer to cover. I think all those things can help with the public land struggles. Okay. Last question. If I had to choose between daylight and night hunting for the rest of my life, what would I pick? I would pick daylight hunting, no doubt. Just I would hate to never be able to day hunt again. That's pretty much all. There's nothing that gets me more excited than a daylight call in. I will forever be uncontrollably excited every time I call in a daylight. Dog, cat, doesn't even matter actually. Just a predator coming into the call in the daylight and shooting with the day scope is one of the most incredible things to do. My experience gets me the most excited of anything out there. And that I also love to be able to see. I love being able to see country, terrain, tracks. Just gets me excited to be out, and day hunt. And even if I don't kill one, that anticipation that I might keeps me going. So, yeah, pretty easy choice there. I'm definitely choosing the daylight. Yeah, and that was my last question. Let me check, make sure I don't have any more. Not at the moment. I got some funny ones that I'm not gonna share, but yeah. Anyways, thank you to everyone who asked a question, who sent me a message. Even the funny ones that I didn't repeat are still funny, and I still appreciate them. And I appreciate everybody sending questions. Hopefully your question got answered, and hopefully it was helpful. This was just all my opinion. Take it or leave it. But that's my thought and what I think. So, that's all I got for you guys. All right. Thanks for listening.
Thank you for listening to this episode. If you want to support the Predator Podcast, check out our great partners in the description below. Follow Drew on Instagram at PredatorPodcast_Drew. Join the Predator Podcast Facebook community and keep up with real-time tips and tricks to keep putting fur in the truck. Until next time, shoot straight.